Beyond 3D.
Saturday evening in and around the peninsula and coming to you live, streaming across the internet. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Matt and Clint here with you. Hopefully you're all doing well out there. Clint?
Good evening.
Good evening. How's it going?
I've had a full-on media blackout this week.
Oh, that's a good thing, actually.
No, it is a good thing. I have no idea what's going on in the world at the moment.
Well, believe me, you don't want to know.
Political-wise.
Yeah, we know.
How's he who shall not be named?
He who shall not be named has had an interesting Friday, yesterday, so let's say. He who shall not be named did his first press conference officially as President of the United States.
How long did it go for?
1 hour and 17 minutes.
Was that necessary, that long?
I think he needed that long to be able to insult as many members of the media as he possibly could.
There's plenty of time for the... actually, I won't touch on this right now. I'll touch on it maybe later.
Okay.
I was going to say there's plenty of time for the snipers.
Oh, yeah, well, no. We're not going to worry about that right now. It's been an interesting week.
No, there's a reason I brought that up.
Okay, why?
We'll touch on it later. We'll touch on it later.
Said that. That's right, you said that. Okay, guys, hopefully you've had a great week now. There is a lot going on in the world right now. We're going to touch on a few of those things this week. And a few things that we don't necessarily cover. Let's see. Yeah, I think we should do that as well. So, one of the things that happened this week that was interesting, and let's start with ufology. I saw this week, being that Clint was in a media blackout, so to speak, something that was very interesting. I saw a video taken through an 8-inch refractor telescope with a GoPro attached to it from Mr. Walson. And I was looking at a 40-minute video of the moon. And I saw some of the most fascinating, interesting things you could possibly imagine. And I am saying here right now...
Go on.
No freaking way are they natural formations.
Okay.
In any way, shape, or form.
Do you want to share?
I saw cities.
Hang on a second.
Yes.
Just go back again.
Yes.
What did you see it through? What was the equipment? Do you know any of these little details?
An 8-inch refractor telescope with a GoPro attached to it, so therefore he could actually zoom in and get down to just about crater height.
Nice.
A little bit above.
Nice.
So it's a huge telescope. You guys know Celestron telescopes and stuff like that. Our good friend Steve Myers knows all about Celestron telescopes, and so does Patricia. And hi to you guys from Soul to Soul.
Hello.
And the other thing was, so he had that and he had a GoPro, and what you do is you take your GoPro and you put it down through the lens and it can basically capture what's going on. Now the video is a little bit, I will say it this way, funky, and that is because the Earth is moving and the moon is moving, so you have to continually move the telescope in order to get certain pictures. So when he goes to zoom in on a specific area, he'll bring it in, zoom in a little bit more, allow the light to gather so he can actually clear up the picture, but then at that point you also have to adjust the telescope because moon is moving, Earth is moving, etc. But what you start to see as he adjusts is some really interesting formations. You can look and it looks like you were in Petra in Jordan in certain places.
Nice.
It looked like there were it looked like there was mining equipment.
And this is on the front side of the moon.
When I looked at what he was doing, I honestly believe he was looking at the horizon line between the front and the back end of the moon.
So where the dark hits the light, or the light hits the dark.
That's what I was believing that he was doing at the time, and I was fascinated.
That's where all the best secrets are hiding.
And I'm going to put this up. Now, guys, it's 40 minutes long, and you have to take your time to look at it, but I'm going to put the link up on our Facebook page because, in my opinion, I was like, nah, I'm sorry, that was made by something or someone.
Okay.
And it was absolutely fascinating to look at.
That's really, really cool.
Absolutely fascinating. And the other thing, and you know this because you're into CGI and a lot of the audiovisual kind of things, you start looking at different structures on the moon, and you don't just look at the structure, you look at the shadow the structure makes.
Oh, I look at everything from blurred pixels to, I'll go in and look.
Yeah.
I'll hunt for blurred pixels.
Yeah. And so you can see what's going on. You can see where the sun is shining down. You can see there's uniformity between the shadows shining off of a crater. You can tell that crater, you can see there's depth to it, so you can see the shadows coming down in the depth of what you're looking at. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of one of these craters, you see these shapes. And the shapes are not natural shapes. They're triangles and rectangles and all of these
So we're
kinds of
talking
things.
about straight lines.
Yes.
Straight, because nature doesn't design in straight lines.
Yes, and you just go, come on.
Yeah.
And you can look at his YouTube page and you will see, after he did some of these, the black helicopters circling over his house. And a lot of that was going on. So I was absolutely fascinated this week. That was what I really looked at as far as YouTube and things like that.
I've seen in the past lots of people that have put stuff on YouTube and then they will accompany whatever it is that they upload, a clip of helicopters over their house. It's a common theme that in the States, that when you start discovering little secrets that they don't want everybody to know, when you start making it public, you do get a little bit of static. Now, when you think about a helicopter, we don't know what tech is decked out in those machines. We don't know if they've got infrared, if they can see right into your house. I mean, you see what it's like when they're chasing somebody who's absconding justice, and they're chasing them with an infrared through the sky.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know whether or not they can see into your house. You don't know whether or not they have the ability to jam what it is that you're doing in your home or tap into it. Who knows? Who knows? Just because it's overhead, you kind of have that tyranny of distance where you become lax with not worrying about your rights being infringed because they're so far away. But the reality is they could be right in your lounge room, being so far away, and you have no idea.
Well, that's the way it is now. And I know you guys will know this. When GPS first came out, they always gave you the caveat that it used to be like one of those old big brick telephones, and you would have to triangulate with the 3 satellites, and they would always say it's accurate to within a certain few meters because the military has to use the more accurate ones. Every single person knows, if you have a Samsung, an Android phone, or an iPhone, when you hit that little blip, it can show you exactly what room you're in your home, or exactly what room that phone is in your home.
Yep.
It is precise. Now, helicopters, at least police helicopters and things like that, when they travel, and what they do is they do have the heat sensing equipment in the vehicles, and they can detect any kind of heat source. And human beings are a heat source, so they can do that, which is why a lot of times what you will find is people will start to run into very high, waist-high grass, and they try to run into trees and things like that to try to hide their heat signature.
No, just go into an underground car park. That's the best deal.
You can try that as well, but the other thing they use it for is if you imbibe in certain psychotropical substances, they can basically fly over with their sensors and see what houses, roofs, have a little bit more activity than they should have as far as heat sensing is concerned as well. So you have to deal with that as well.
Interesting thing I want to just rewind on. Just a minute ago, you mentioned that if you have an Android phone or an iPhone, you can find your phone like within a couple of meters. How many people do you reckon on flight MH370?
You have to know in this day and age, it's just like when you get on a train. How many people, if there are 100 people in a train car, how many of them have a smart device? How many smart devices are in the world?
I'll tell you, half the amount doubled.
Yeah, it's just insane. Everyone has one. At this point in time, there are at least 5 billion smart devices worldwide.
And just as many dumb people using them.
Yes, well, if there are
Myself included.
Yes, if there are 7 billion people on the planet and 5 billion people at least have smartphones, you can basically just say 80% of the people have smartphones. Therefore, 80% of the people on MH Flight 370 would have had some kind of device.
So, where are they?
Diego Garcia.
Yeah, well, originally, I mean, you and I both subscribe to that theory because it's so close to Western Australia.
I think we went over this one other show. I'll put that out again. You have a plane disappear. After that, you have the similar Malaysian Airlines flight that was flying back from Europe to this area go down over the Ukraine. Therefore, some people state that what they did was just change the tail numbers, leave some of the so-called bodies from 370 on that flight in cargo, load it up with new people, and it was gotten rid of over the Ukraine.
There's so many planes in the plane graveyard. They could have just used any model that was exactly the same and just dumped it and scattered it in bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah.
But Jacob Rothschild did own the patented rights for scalar technology, and his entire team of scientists that developed the scalar technology, who all had a partial share in that scalar technology, all perished on flight MH370, reverting all the rights to that scalar technology back to Jacob Rothschild.
And the Carlyle Group. Yeah. And that's the Bushes.
And we all, Carlyle Group like to go out and finger everybody. So
yeah, well, that's the way. And they'll start doing their. I know. You know something I heard this week. I heard this yesterday. I heard this on Friday. They were talking about who is they. Where did I hear it? I heard it on Alex Jones.
Matt, we have to take a break.
No.
Yes, come back in a second. We'll do it then.
Fair enough.
Beyond 3 D.
Welcome back tonight to Beyond the 3D. Matt, you were saying?
Listening to Alex Jones, he had a person, I can't remember the name right now, but this was a person who used to work with the CIA, and they were talking about what's going on behind the scenes now with He Who Shall Not Be Named. And one of the things, and these guys are pro He Who Shall Not Be Named. They are not against him. Therefore, they were talking about a name from the past that has come up. Not the George Soros kind of stuff. None of that. They brought up a blast from the past. They brought up the, what did they call it?
I've had a blackout this week, so you tell me.
The dark government kind of thing and all of that kind of stuff against He Who Shall Not Be Named. But they brought up another name who you will love. And they said that he is really going after certain things within the new administration and trying to bring it down and make it more conducive to his will.
I'm very interested to see who this is.
It's a human being that's just pathetic, but you won't need a drum roll. You will know the name immediately, and he was in George Bush's White House.
It's like I don't like using the name that's attached to this group, but it's like the Illuminati trying to dethrone He Who Shall Not Be Named from within. I've got a bit of information on stuff like that.
Yeah. All right. The name I'm speaking about is the former vice president under George Bush, Dick Cheney.
Wow.
And they say behind the scenes, he is really starting to manipulate. And they talk about the fact that he is manipulating with He Who Shall Not Be named his, what do you call the person? Their chief of staff.
Okay. Well, Julian
doing a lot of stuff.
Julian Assange tweeted the other day that an amazing battle for dominance is playing out between the elected US government and the intelligence community, who consider themselves to be the permanent government.
I would say that's true. I would say that's very true. I think there's a lot of things going on. And so what's going to start to happen, and this is where it gets really fun for us, is they're going to start releasing a lot of information that would get people thinking about things other than what the administration is doing. They're talking about the fact that they're going to start releasing more of the UFO files.
Oh, hello.
And really getting people involved in that and bringing that out to,
well, that's about bloody time.
To quell what's going on in Washington, D.C.
Well, the Chinese government's just done that too.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
No.
Chinese government officially confirmed the existence of UFOs and aliens.
There you go.
So we've got the Canadian government, the Chinese government. France is spearheading that.
Yeah.
I think Australia will be very way behind when it comes out to...
Please. They can't even spell UFO, little.
You know that scene in the schoolyard where one kid goes, "Hey everybody, let's go do this," and everybody follows. Yeah, and Australia's just like walking by and going, where are we going? What's going on?
That's the way they are down here right now. Hopefully they will wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak. But at this point in time, I think a lot of that's going to start going on right now. There was another core dump of a lot of data, and because of that core dump, a lot of interesting information on what's going on UFO-wise is starting to come out from the United States. Great Britain released a lot of their data as well. So we'll see what's going on with that. I'm just very fascinated with all of the so-called information that has to come out now. And hopefully a lot of it will start to percolate, and really we will get to see what is the meat and the potatoes. And this is the thing. If you think about it, it's a really good time to bring it out because people will be angry with governments.
Oh, they're furious with government. The whole world's furious with the United States government at the moment.
And being that they're already angry with he who shall not be named, it would be the perfect time to bring this out, and they can blame him for all of this as well. And so that would be a really good thing, in my opinion.
Well, this kind of information can only be termed as a tsunami. You cannot stop a tsunami holding up a tissue. Okay? They've been trying to do that for such a long, long time. Just let it happen.
Well, they got to try to stop it and keep their control. But it's going to be nice. It's going to be fun. So we should thank he who shall not be named. We shall thank him immensely because he's such an inept, unequivocal, narcissistic something with ears. We would like to thank him because what he's doing is he is allowing everyone to truly express themselves, and a lot of the people are going to get a lot of good information because of it. And the other thing that he's doing is because of all of the stuff going on, a lot of kids are starting to learn their history.
Yes.
Kids all of a sudden are looking up the Logan Act.
Yes.
Kids all of a sudden are looking up what's going on in
constitutional rights, what they're entitled to, how their rights have been taken.
They're reading, they're looking things up, and that's a very good thing. Kids are starting to get to do something about the fact that a lot of this stuff is getting taken away from them.
They're the next wave.
Yeah, well, we need them because, quite frankly, this is like Custer's last stand as far as I'm concerned, what they're doing right now. And you know what happened to General Custer?
Yes, he died at the Alamo.
He didn't die at the Alamo.
I know who General Custer is, Matt. I'm not being disrespectful. I know
General
who he
George Custer was basically in the United States cavalry in the 1800s, and he was one of the people that tried to wipe out the American Indian population, or the native population, so to speak. He went up against Sitting Bull.
Thank you.
And Sitting Bull wiped him clean.
I had Sitting Bull in the back of my mind. It wasn't until you just said that I went, yeah, good one.
No, it's all right. It's fine. But that's the whole thing. Look, I don't remember half of them as well. I just remember it was called the Trail of Tears, and what they did to the native population there. I guess it would be the equivalent of a Truganini here.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of thing. And that was just unbelievably nasty. But guys, the other thing you can do, load up YouTube and check out a video that Tyler and Secure Team put up titled Winston Churchill's Lost Essay on Aliens.
I beg your pardon?
Winston Churchill's Lost Essay on Aliens, which has been discovered.
I love the fact that I don't speak during the week, and you come in tonight and you just drop a bomb like that. I know nothing about this.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't know anything about it until they put it up that way, and then you basically look at a 10-minute video, and you decide the information for yourself. But at least there's people out there that are actually starting to get out good information and are doing a lot of research.
Is it a document written by Churchill?
I would think so.
Okay, so it's not him. It's not a recorded audio of Churchill.
No.
Right, okay, cool.
No. Documentation found, and a lot of things are coming out that way. Now, I thought I heard something else this week, but I think what we're going to have to do is take a quick break, and that'll give me time to just verify whether or not I heard what I heard.
Okay.
Beyond 3 D.
Welcome back to this week's edition of Beyond 3D. Now, Clint, I wanted to look something up to see if I had heard something about one of our favorite people in the world, Julian Assange. And I did hear something about him this week.
Hang on, I've got to play his theme.
Okay. Anyway, I did hear something about Julian Assange.
He must be very fit by now.
Oh, yeah, right. Living in that building in London.
He's always on the run.
But he's got a problem.
He's sick of eating the same hotel food?
Yeah, basically, but he has another problem, a bigger problem.
Okay.
And it's an Australia big problem.
Okay.
He has a new advocate.
Don't. Now, if I say the name, Pauline Hanson.
Oh, that's it.
Am I spot on?
You are spot on.
Oh, why? Why? No.
Carrot Top herself is calling for the release of the Australian hero, Julian Assange.
Trump's not going to do that.
Free Julian Assange. It's time to bring him home. Now, the other thing I heard about Mr. Assange this weekend from inside sources who usually don't raise their heads above ground very often was that, you're right, Donald Trump will not allow that to happen because, according to some, WikiLeaks is sitting on some information about the Republican Party that makes the information he had on the Democratic Party and the pedophile rings look like a picnic in the park on a sunny Sunday afternoon.
This is like... One of my friends who only reads the Herald Sun, which is a blue collar. Nothing wrong with the Herald Sun. It's great if you've got nothing to do and you want to kill some time and you want to just catch up on what's the generic stuff of what's happening in Melbourne. Okay, that's cool. That's all he reads. If I was to explain this stuff to him, it's totally over the top of his head. Totally over the top of his head.
Right.
This kind of information needs to start...
Percolating.
I couldn't spit it out. It needs to start percolating through society.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a little hint. The Democratic Party is not the pedophile party. The Republican Party, they are calling the godfather of the pedophile party.
Okay.
And they're saying when it comes to the two, the Democrats are rank amateurs. And Julian Assange allegedly has information that could blow it wide open, and therefore...
Let's spitball this. If Julian Assange came out and released all that hardcore factual evidence,
right,
there is no way the American government could... That's just my opinion. I don't see how the American government could snatch him and prosecute him when the government that he absconded under was committing such heinous crimes.
Okay, here's what, in my opinion, would happen. If that information came to the light of day and was properly released, just as they did with Hillary Clinton and the whole email thing, it would be, in my opinion, a godsend for he who shall not be named.
Yeah, of course it would.
It would allow him to entirely purge his so-called party, and he would be able to replace a lot of those people with people who are more loyal.
I reckon he's going to be eating mashed potatoes before then, to be honest with you.
Well, based upon the press conference he held yesterday, I will be perfectly honest with you. Incredible.
As in his command of the media that was sitting there in his presence?
But I will be honest with you. I believe the media, what they call the mainstream media, was really overemphasizing how bad it was.
I was just about to ask you. You said it was incredible, but you didn't say if it was incredibly good or incredibly bad. You've just reiterated that. Bad.
Okay, no. A person approached me and said, listen to this clip from the press conference. Look at what he says. He doesn't even
Do you have
know.
it there?
I have it. Yes, as a matter of fact, I can give it I got an idea. Let's just give it a listen and let the people decide for themselves.
Cool.
And if I may follow up on that, just something that Jonathan Carl was asking you about. You said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
No, the reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask...
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life, but I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone. You know the word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such... I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. The tone is such hatred. I watched this morning a couple of the network, and I have to say, the tone, Jim, if you look, the hatred, sometimes, but I know what's good, I know what's bad.
Are you gonna include the CBC, Mr. President, in your conversations with your urban agenda, your inner city agenda, as well as?
Am I going to include?
Are you going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional?
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus,
I tell you what. Do you want to set up the meeting? Do you want to set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of yours?
I'm just a reporter.
No, set up the meeting.
I know some of them, but I'm sure.
Let's go. Set up a meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great, the Congressional Black Caucus. I mean, it's story after story after story is bad. I won. Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it.
There you go. What jibber jabber is that man spouting?
Okay, so a black reporter asks he who shall not be named a question about the CBC. Mm-hmm. Now,
can you explain to our listeners what the CBC is?
I was just about to. The reason I said the CBC was, this is the thing, when it comes to those acronyms and things along those lines, certain people know what they are, other people don't. You cannot assume just because a person is the president of the United States, they will know every single little acronym and all these crap that these people come up with, because I can't think of another word right now. So, if you don't know what the CBC is, it is the Congressional Black Caucus.
Okay.
It is a 49-member body that includes senators and congresspeople that are in the Congress of the United States.
And the requirement to be in part of this is to be African American?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And so he then states to the person, are you going to arrange, to what he states to a reporter, are you going to arrange this meeting? You can do this for me? Yeah, I'll happily talk to them. And they acted like he did something that was just absolutely outrageous. But guys, when I first saw that clip or heard that clip, I will tell you, I just said, look, he didn't know what it meant. The woman explained it to him. No, she's a reporter. She cannot arrange that meeting. You're the president of the United States. They're the Congress. Call them up. Ask one of your people who they are. Call them up.
Do you know why?
It wasn't as bad.
Do you know why he didn't? It's called ego.
Yeah, well, get one of your racist little minions to call one of them up who will really
What's that little Muppet's name that Melissa McCarthy's been taking off on Saturday Night Live?
Spicer.
Thank you.
Sean Spicer. I thought you meant the other little minion. What's his name? Miller. I put the picture up on my Facebook page about him, and I have a picture of him, and then there's a picture of Joseph Goebbels from back at Hitler's time in the Nazi era. And when you listen to the two of them, they basically sound the same, a little different language, but the tone of the message is usually the same. So anyway, a lot of that kind of thing happened. He basically has changed his tone about calling a certain network in the United States fake news. He calls them something different now.
If it's not conducive with he who shall not be named, with his agenda, then it's not real.
Yes.
What did George Costanza say? If it's not a lie, if you believe it.
Yeah, well, I never watched Seinfeld. Anyway,
you're lucky. I nearly got to punch on just then.
Can't stand that show. The fact of the matter is, they are no longer fake news. And he was trying at the end of the press conference to lighten it a bit and everything like that. Now he calls them very fake news. So look, here's the thing. And a person I heard in the States said something really interesting about this whole entire press conference thing. And this is what we have to do for our guys here when it comes to everything coming out of the United States now, especially around this. All they are trying to do is bamboozle. They are trying to get you, the old bait and switch. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. They don't want you talking about the fact that the National Security Advisor left the gig, or was asked to leave the gig, because, in my opinion, he's a Russian agent. The other thing that was interesting, Clint, this was really weird. They had a picture of General Flynn at an RT News event in Moscow, and he was sitting right next to Vladimir Putin at a table. Mm-hmm. And everybody's bringing this picture up, and I'm looking at the picture going, but, and they're looking at him, oh, there's Flynn, he's next to Putin, you see, Russian agent, the whole thing. And I look across, and I'll put this picture up on our Facebook page, and there's a woman in the foreground of the picture. Guess who the woman was, in my opinion?
Oh, look, just hit it.
Come on. Guess it. Just take a guess. Okay. Very simple. She ran for president, but she wasn't Hillary Clinton.
It's not Elizabeth Warren. No.
Jill Stein.
Oh, okay.
The Green Party.
Okay.
And I said, well, isn't
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I said, well, so come on. What's really going on here? A few people get invited to things like that. You can't use a picture like that against him. But the fact of the matter is they have the telephone transcripts proving that he was talking about the Russian sanctions with Russian agents. That's why they got rid of him. Anything Trump does outside of that, what's the other thing he's going to do? Oh, wait a minute, I mentioned him. Anything he who shall not be named does, anything that he who shall not be named does has to be taken with a grain of salt. He is trying to divert everybody's attention away from the fact that there's a lot of Russia stuff going on.
There's a lot of Russia stuff going on, and none of it's come to the mainstream dinosaur media yet.
They will find out soon enough, because believe me, they've got all the phone transcripts, so it'll be very interesting.
He still has not, A, released his tax returns.
Never will.
B, relinquished control over his businesses.
Never will.
C, openly admitted that he has Russian ties.
Never will.
D, is well liked. I don't think he's got many friends.
According to him, everybody likes him. And that's why he is going back out on the road to Florida to talk to his people. My public, as Bugs Bunny used to say. But, oh well, look, we've talked about he who shall not be named a lot this week, but it needed to be done.
I've got one more.
Oh.
After this.
Beyond 3 D.
Welcome back this week, everyone, to another edition of Beyond 3D. And Matt, unfortunately, he who shall not be named has chewed up a lot of airtime tonight.
Yes.
I got one more.
Go for it.
Have you heard of the Illuminati card game?
No.
The Illuminati card game came out in 1995. Okay. Just think of a deck of cards, kind of like tarot cards. All these different world events on this card game.
Right.
And just about so far, every one of these Illuminati cards has predicted an event to a T.
Ooh, what have they predicted?
9/11.
Yeah.
And on the card, 2 Twin Towers.
Cool.
The death of Princess Diana.
Yeah.
There's a slew. There's many.
Yeah.
I suggest anybody wants to have a look, go Google it. But there's one card that allegedly is going to come to fruition very, very soon.
Ooh, tell me.
It's called Enough is Enough. Now, I'm going to hold it up. Now, we were talking earlier about making life easy for the snipers.
Ah, yes.
So it has a lot to do with the Illuminati card game. So this particular card is called Enough is Enough. And it says on the card, at any time, at any place, our snipers can take you out. Have a nice day. Whose face is on the card that was printed in 1995? You have a look.
No way.
Yes. Whose face is that?
That was next to that?
That's no.
Let me see the card.
That's a picture that they've put next to the card. That's the actual card.
Wow. Ooh.
And they actually
I'll put that up on the Facebook page. You got to put that up.
They have a second card. It's called the Charismatic Leader.
Wow.
These cards were made in 1995, and so far they've predicted just about every world major event with these cards.
Who made them up?
A company called SJG, and that stands for Steve Jackson Games. And Matt, it was inspired by the 1975 book The Illuminatus trilogy by Robert Anton Wilson and Robert Shea. The game has ominous secret societies competing against each other to control the world through sinister means, including legal, illegal, and even mystical means. So there you go, Matt.
Wow. That was interesting.
Can't find... Oh, the Japanese earthquake.
Yeah.
The rise of ISIS.
Ooh.
Just about, like I said, just about everything that's occurred in the last 10 years, 10, 20 years, has a card in this deck.
Wow. Oh, well.
I know, it's pretty cool.
Oh, what are you going to do with that, though? Oh.
But what does that say? I mean, if you look at these cards, how can they print this in 1995 and yet each one of these cards has come to fruition?
Hey, look. If the Illuminati is really running things, it makes sense that they would come to fruition.
When Alex Jones has based his whole career on bringing them down, I dare say they're pretty real.
Well, right now, I think Mr. Jones has hooked his horse up to the wrong wagon.
Yep.
And he's going to regret it, quite frankly. And it's a shame. I might have said this before, but I'm going to say it again. I thought he had some really good information, and I thought his network was doing really well because he had the mid-ground. He had the high ground. As soon as he made a choice, done. Absolutely done.
Yeah, he was a fence-sitter for a long time. He was anti-establishment, and now he's joined the establishment.
Literally. And that's it's harsh. Hopefully he'll figure out a way around it, but quite frankly, I don't know if he will. But I think that's just the way it goes. Guys, this is going to be an absolutely phenomenal year, and as we go into what we would consider fall and winter and what they would consider up in North America spring and summer, you are going to find that what is happening now is just a little bit of an appetizer to what is about to really be unleashed, shall I say, in North America and in Europe. There are going to be some very interesting things going on, and I think what's going to happen is you're going to be able to bring in Darpa, and you're going to be able to let them use a few of their holograms in certain places.
Their Project Blue Beam.
And they're going to really start screwing with people's heads because they're going to need to.
If anybody wants to have a look at that, we did post it on our Facebook page about a month ago, maybe, do you think, Matt?
From the high school gym or whatever it was?
Yes, that blue whale that came out of the gym floor.
Yes.
That's Project Blue Beam technology developed by DARPA.
It's going to be interesting times. And that's why a lot of people will state, and I think Stephen Greer stated this, that if there is a UFO invasion, it could be part of that technology. And so you have to be very careful because what you may be seeing might not be reality. And so you have to be careful with all of that.
We talked about that heavily last year.
So watch out for it because what you first see will probably just be a prelude. It's not necessarily real.
Maybe a prelude to crush fear.
Or to stir up a lot more fear. Who knows?
Or start more fear. Just depends on what the agenda is.
Yeah,
you and I don't know.
We will find. Well, the agenda, in my opinion, is to make the United States of America the new Soviet Union.
Oh, what a bizarro world.
Yeah.
Reagan would have just...
Well, hey, they always need a group of people that are the robots and just let them go. So let's see what happens.
Change is good.
Yeah.
I'm not against change, but that's radical.
Hey, look, that's the way it is. That's what they're going to do. Interesting. But a lot of other things going on as well. I think what we're going to do is I want to, and I'll run this by you, we need to have an absolute UFO show coming up. And what I want to do is I want to talk about the fact that down here we have an air show coming up called the Avalon Air Show, which I believe is in March. And they're bringing down some very interesting technology. And one of the things they're bringing down is an F-35.
Okay, I thought you were about to tell me the Aurora was going to pull up and park.
They're going to start with an F-35 and they'll see what happens with that after that. But this has been questionable technology at best, insofar as it is supposed to be a state-of-the-art fighter plane, but the fact of the matter is they can't get it off the ground. Yeah,
it's 20 years old.
But they're going to start putting this stuff out because they're working on a few other things, and there are a few videos that are out there that are basically have spotted certain aircraft that they've never seen before. So I think we need to really talk about those. And the other thing I want to do is also mention the fact that there was an event down here from Mr. Slattery.
Mm-hmm. He had a great time. He had a very successful time up at Mount
Buffalo?
Yep.
But it was very Yeah, I want to talk about that. And hopefully we can get him on the show again. But I really want to talk about what he is doing. And I think what's starting to happen is they are, by using, is it the CE5 techniques?
Yes, that developed by Dr. Stephen Greer.
All right, what's starting to happen is basically what they've done, what Stephen Greer has done, is he has taken meditative, Eastern Indian meditative techniques, and he has basically given it a scientific name, because that way more people will feel that they can embrace it. What you are doing is very simple. You are opening up your pineal gland in the brain. You're decalcifying it. And because you're decalcifying it, what you're doing is you're cleansing your screen. You're able to see a lot more. You're able to use that third eye, so all of a sudden you have a triangulation instead of just having the two eyes working. And when that happens, you start seeing a lot more things out there. So what they're doing, what Mr. Slattery is doing, is he is teaching people how to open and control the pineal gland of the third eye. And by having that opened and controlled, you can triangulate. And when you have those three things triangulating, all of a sudden you look up in the sky and you start to see things that you could not see before. They're always there. It's just that they are hidden from you, so to speak.
They're always there.
Yes.
We just can't see them in the spectrum.
So therefore, when you have all three eyes working, and you have three eyes, guys, don't doubt it, you have them. When they're all working properly and they're all in focus and they're all concentrating on a point, you can see what's out there. That's what it really comes down to. And it is an easy practice, and I have put it up on my website, and what I will do is I will let a link to it for you guys so you can take a look at it yourselves. It's a 10-minute process that you can do that will allow you to start realizing that there's more out there than you can possibly imagine, and and there's really no way you can refute it, because you'll be able to see it with your own eyes.
We live in the boondocks.
Yeah.
The galactic boondocks.
That, and we're isolated because of the fact that we can't accept the fact that there's a heck of a lot more going on. I mean, last night, quite frankly, I was all over the place. Here, there, and everywhere. There's a whole lot of stuff going on, guys. It's fun to find out about, but you got to do the work to get there. And if you can do 10 minutes a day, you will be amazed at what starts happening for you. So put that up as well. I'll put a link to that on my website, and you guys can take a look at it for yourselves and see whether or not it's something that you can find and use. And please do not hand me that I don't have 10 minutes, because that's an absolute crock. You can come up with 10 minutes.
Take your smartphone into the bathroom.
Anything. You can come up with 10 minutes and activate the gland in your brain that's going to allow you to see that this world is a heck of a lot bigger than you could possibly imagine. It's worth your time. If I said it was 5 minutes, they'd say they can't come up with 5 minutes. If you said it was 1 minute, they can't come up with 1 minute. Get 10 minutes up and do it. People. Unbelievable. I've heard it a lot.
We need a break.
Fair enough.
Beyond 3 D.
Welcome back tonight to Beyond 3D. We're in the home stretch, Matt.
Oh, okay.
You have a interesting book there, and I've been looking at it all night.
Oh, you mean my old book from the 1920s? Ah, yes.
What is that? That's a really old book. Is that electrical tape on the spine to keep it together?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I did not do that. All right, this was when my great uncle died, who was a disciple of Ramakrishna back in the 1920s. This is his book.
Can I just see the inside of that cover for a second? I'll be very gentle with it. My Lord, if I sneeze, it's like the pages would fly away.
Absolutely.
April the 2nd, 1927.
Yes.
Wow.
So therefore, it's 90 years old.
Has this book seen some stuff?
It is 90 years old.
I'll hand that back to you.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. There was a series of them.
Wow, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The Psychology of Personal Magnetism.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, but there's a whole series of books like this. Now, we've talked about this before, but just as a brief synopsis, Madame Blavatsky.
Yes.
And the Theosophical Society.
Yes.
She did her thing back in the late 1800s going into the early 1900s. Then what you had was World War I. All of a sudden, a lot of that information went underground. Then what happened was, even though information was underground, you got to the 1920s, and there were a lot of groups that came out, like the Benares Society in New York and things like that. Ramakrishna was around doing meditations, and people worldwide were looking for meditative practices, but they were called occult practices back then, hidden. That's all it meant. There were a lot of people who wrote books on astrology, on occultism, and people took it seriously.
Can I just stop you there for a second?
Yeah.
Back then,
Yep.
there were no experts. There were no. If you wanted to call yourself a scientist and study a field of science, you would have been a pioneer, like Madame Curie. Okay, nobody came up and gave you a certificate and said, right, you're a fully qualified scientist. These people, because it was their passion, invested their time and energy into this.
All that here's a piece of paper, you're a scientist, was Rockefeller stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It was all about cash and money and
when they
making
started
businesses.
taking over and trying to, make everything theirs.
Quantify and qualify everything.
Yeah, that's their whole thing. But yeah, books like this were out, a lot of them. I have a series of them. I have a few series of them, but these are very interesting insofar as when they were written, why they were written, the people who wrote them. What I'll do is I'll put the author's name up on our Facebook page as well, and you guys can do an internet search and see what you can come up with. But the way things were written, what was going on at the time, it's very interesting. I'll do it another time and start reading from these. Maybe what we'll do is have a little excerpt where we can do a 5-minute thing every week, and we can start reading from some of the books from the late 1800s and the early 1900s. And you will find that a lot of the things are going on now. All they have done is go back 100 years and made it a little bit more modern. And that's what they do. You take information from the past, you update it a little bit, and you just say, hey, look at this new innovative technology that we've come out with. It's not very new, especially when it comes to esoteric science and cult sciences. A lot of this stuff was going on in the 1800s and the 1900s. World wars got in the way. Spanish-American War got in the way. But there were people doing a lot of work in this field.
I just realized that book is older than Roswell.
There you go. I've got tons of them. I have books from 1910. I have books from 1897.
Over 100 years old.
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. And those are the ones that you really want to read because unadulterated. They're unabridged. You don't have to worry about the fact that people have gotten them, taken them, and changed them in some way for their own purposes. It's fascinating to read books like that. And if you can, there are people out there that just love collecting books, and they will have some really good things in their library as well. But when it comes to esoteric sciences and all the occult sciences, my father and I were totally into it, and so therefore we would find books like that and we would read them, and we would try to hone the knowledge. And the other thing I can do, and we'll start doing this, being that people need to start thinking healthy and eating healthy and things like that, we'll have another little 5-minute segment where what we're going to do is I'm going to bring out a book from 1926 that talked about cooking and what you were supposed to eat on a daily basis that would keep you in tip-top shape and allow you to meditate better and fuller and to see more and do more things. And this was written from the Benares Society in New York in the 1920s, and it's absolutely fascinating. And when you follow the things in this book, it's just amazing how you start to feel. Really good stuff. Really good stuff.
I'm in awe of you tonight.
Oh, look, I just love doing this stuff. It's a lot of fun. I love learning. As I think all of us know, what we're out is we're seeking the truth, and not just when it comes to politics, but when it comes to health, when it comes to spirituality. That is what it is about. I want to know what's going on other planets. I can see what's going on here. I want to know what others are doing. Just me. We'll find out, though.
It's kind of like you're the meerkat in the Melbourne Zoo, knowing that there's other meerkats in Los Angeles and New York, but you have no proof and no way of contacting them.
You have proof and have a way of contacting them.
No, but
won't believe you.
You know what I'm talking. The meerkat can't do that.
Yeah, but people just don't believe it when you tell them, and they always say, "I need for you to be able to prove it."
Was that a ridiculous analogy?
No, it's just the fact that it's just annoying when people have really great experiences and other people listen, members of the Skeptic Society and things like that, poo-poo it because they can't believe that people can actually move beyond what they can see.
The third dimension.
Any dimension. It's just amazing to me that people actually believe this.
This solid matter is the third dimension.
Yeah, crap. There's so much more beyond that.
Of course there is. That's why we're called Beyond 3D, man.
Absolutely, but the fact of the matter is, we said we were going to get a skeptic on the show. I have to do it. I know one, but I'll see if he'll come on.
Can we do it next week?
I can try. I have to call him and ask him. I haven't heard or seen him in a long time. And as a matter of fact, he had a show on this station. No.
Okay. I'm not even going to ask you. It doesn't matter.
It's not. No, it's a normal human being. I'll put it that way.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you saw some good stuff on Secure Team?
Yes, very good stuff. Guys, just subscribe.
Yep.
That's what I would say. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. It's worth your while.
And before you do, subscribe to us on Facebook as well.
Like us on our Facebook page, and then tell them at Secure Team when you look at a video, the guys in Australia said for me to look at this, at your YouTube channel, and they're really trying to get people to see what you're doing is actually good work. You are not third phase of moon.
Oh my God. Hi, Blake Cousins here. Third phase of moon.
Yes.
This week we've got some really cool, interesting to see.
Yeah, right. And it's really a shame because they're in Hawaii and there's some absolutely phenomenal...
Give him his credit. He has put up over the years some pretty cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
But he's also put up some pretty crap stuff as well.
Schlock. Yeah. But there's some beautiful things going on in Hawaii around UAPs and UFOs and everything that's going on there. It's an energetically beautiful place. And you want to see... We're trying to get people to really embrace what's going on around them. It's amazing. I keep telling people this. I'll say it again this week. Get yourself a telescope. Start looking at that moon.
Oh, that just blew me away what you told me tonight.
It's amazing when you can start seeing... You're going to look at it now because I'm going to put the link up. But just take a look. Spend the 40 minutes if you can and watch this thing. You just go, what the... You've got to be kidding me. You cannot... it's amazing what is up there and what the governments worldwide, not just U.S. government, worldwide, what governments are hiding from the citizenry because they know if we actually know what's going on, it'll bring this place together.
There's a reason they don't show the sheep, the pigs, and the cows, the kill floor. There's a reason they don't show them.
Why?
Because they'd freak out if they did.
Oh, well. I'm of the mind when it comes to all the stuff in the sky and all the lobblies out there. I think most of them are...
That's a great name you just called them, man.
The lobblies?
What'd you say? Say it again?
The lobblies.
Lobblies.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what my mother used to call them, all the lobblies. They're more benevolent than malevolent.
Oh, absolutely.
And so people need to just understand, look, you're talking about raising your consciousness, raising your spiritual vibration, and being able to participate more, not just as a citizen of Australia, but as a citizen of the universe. The galaxy, the universe, all of it. There's so much more going on out there. You always hear the statement, if we do not study history, we are doomed to repeat it.
Your country's doing it now?
Exactly. Do yourself a favor, guys. We need to truly study history. You need to know what went on Mars. You need to know what went on the moon. Clint mentioned last week that we found our true moon, and now we have to figure out what's going on with the big thing up in the sky, which is about 3 times the size it should be.
The satellite?
Yeah.
That was towed there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah.
Antarctica.
Yeah. There's a lot going on down there as well. They're finding so many things, and there was an interesting thing that I heard about, but we're going to have to probably get into a little bit more next week, and it would fit into ufology as well. What they did, and a paper was released by the CIA, and what they used to do is they used to test psychics, and they did remote viewing, and they tested a psychic, and they gave him coordinates, and he took them, and they didn't tell him where.
Was this Ingo Swann?
No, this was somebody else.
Okay.
He got the coordinates, did the session with them, and described what he saw, and they took the coordinates of the session, which were in an envelope, and looked it up. And what they did was, now what you can do is you can run it through a Google Earth, and you will find what is there. And what he found at those coordinates was exactly what he said would be there.
Okay.
Pyramids, everything.
Which is everything which is making Antarctica such an interesting place at the moment.
Absolutely. It's amazing what's going on down there. So guys, there's a lot of information coming out. A lot of times we reiterate and go over things, but we're trying to get you to understand. I think what we're going to do going forward, and I think it'll really help us, is I'm going to put together a bit that you can actually download, and we can get it to you that way. I'm going to put together a 5-minute meditation for people that will activate the 3 seeds in the body and will allow them to start actually feeling energy, and it will allow them to be able to see that there's a heck of a lot more going on than they could possibly imagine.
How about this? Every week before our show, we usually play film scores. How about next week we do a meditation
We can do that.
before our show?
Easy.
Okay, done. And I want to make next show free of he who shall not be named, pending the fact that he doesn't blow the world up, or he isn't assassinated, or something radical doesn't happen. I want to make it a he who shall not be named free show next week.
I think we can get away with that.
Well, you know what?
Because-
we did a whole year of shows before he turned up on the doorstep.
Well, the fact of the matter is, it's a lot of fun, and he's making a lot of news, and he's doing a lot of things that's getting the world talking. And in that regard, you have to let people know what's going on. But what we will say is this: I agree with you. As long as nothing absolutely, positively, and unequivocally wacky happens, he will not be named.
Thank you.
He will not be talked of. We will let it go, and we will start getting more of the positive vibe in and talking about the things that can really help. And a meditation will do it. Guided meditation.
Beetroot.
Beetroot? Like that purple thing? What about it?
It's really good for diabetes.
Really?
I just want to throw that out there before we leave tonight's show.
Do you?
Yep.
The other thing I want to get into, I heard something this week about cannabis and cannabis oils, and I heard it from the point of view of a person who has MS.
Yes.
And I want to, we're going to get into that a little bit next week as well, because it's extremely important and pertinent right now, and things that are going on in Australia could actually help a lot of people that are in a lot of pain.
I shall do my homework.
We'll need to, both of us.
I'll jack myself back in the Matrix this
There you
week and
go, there you
find
go.
out what's going on.
There we go. Guys, it's been fun. Take care. Have a great week. And Clint and I will catch you next week for another edition of Beyond
3D. And thanks, Matt, for tonight. You just knocked it out of the park.
No problem.
Cheers, babe.
Cheers. All the best, guys. All the
night.
best, guys. Good night.
Good night.
Just because you haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.